a lot of you are talking about this pandemic called the coronavirus, and it's become a significant problem around the world. Lots of people are a few people are sick, but a lot more people are afraid, and everybody's concerned. Everybody takes it seriously, including us on this platform. And so today, the person I get the pleasure and the honor of speaking with is Miss Tina Fey Bishop, and
Yes.
Fey is here, and she is she's a what we would call an essential Negro, because she's in an essential business. She's in real estate, and she's also got laundromats and stuff like that. Sorry, hold on. And she's got a lot of stuff going on. And so Faye, I'm gonna welcome you in, but let me turn this music off real quick on my computer first, because I hit a
No
button and
problem.
it just started making a whole lot of noise. So give me 1 second here, Faye. So everybody,
Okay.
for now, do me a favor, guys. Please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button, as I make sure that this noise turns off on my computer, because sometimes things happen. So give me a second here. I talk financial about 20. Okay, hold on. No, it's still too loud. Hold on, guys. Hold on for a second. Something crazy is going on here. Let me just turn things off. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. So I think I got it off. All right. So Faye, we're okay. Now we can do it the right way. I think we can. Hold on. Okay. Now my audio's not turning on. Sorry, guys. I didn't think there we go. Faye, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, loud and clear.
Okay. Were you hearing noise a second ago?
Yes, I was. It
Lots
sounded
of
like
noise?
radio.
You did it? Okay. Then
Yeah.
I turned, yeah, and I thought I turned it off, but I guess I didn't. So anyway, I apologize for that, guys. So let me start this off the right way. Faye, how are you doing today?
I am doing excellent. Very busy and very excellent. Good spirits. I'm not trying to let this virus destroy my peace of mind, which I think a lot of people are doing, unfortunately. Yeah.
So what do you mean by that when you say that it's affected the peace of mind of so many people? What are your thoughts?
Well, number one, I feel like due to the hysterics rather, and the panic being pushed by the media, in addition to, as I stated in a prior conversation, a lot of people not having the right kind of information, we're not approaching this with the right perspective. And I think what it's causing is for people to be under intense levels of stress. And I think the virus has destroyed our minds. It's a slow burn, and you can feel it in the air, kind of when you go out. I don't know if you're experiencing that, but I do know it's all up and down the feeds. I mean, there are many of us that are plugged into the matrix, that is our social media and our phones. We're looking through everybody's feeds. We're reading everything except the right kinds of things. And we're not really doing a lot of self-monitoring. And self-monitoring at this time is doing a lot more than just washing your hands, using hand sanitizer, and having as much toilet paper than the whole world can find. It's monitoring your own stress levels, monitoring your mental and your emotional health. And what a lot of people don't know is that intense levels of stress raises cortisol levels. And it starts to release that cortisol into your bloodstream, which in turn begins to suppress your immune system, meaning that even if any of us at any time were to catch this virus or were to be exposed to this virus or any other virus, we're going to have a really hard time battling it, because we're suppressing our immune system with stress and all of this emotional craziness that's going on. We're calling one another crazy on the feeds. Whenever someone speaks out against the virus, we're screaming at that person, almost rejecting the information. We can't stand people who are, have questions about the virus. We're angry. 1 minute we like the president and we're listening to the president. The next minute we don't. It's fuck Donald Trump. And we want answers. And at the same time, we're also grieving, which is another thing that a lot of people aren't really thinking about. We're grieving. We're grieving loss of jobs. We're grieving loss of income, loss of childcare while not working for some parents. The children are grieving the fact that they can't go to school and associate with their peers and learn. A lot of students this year are not going to be able to go on prom. It's a possibility that they may not be having their commencement ceremonies. And we really can't celebrate life and events the way we want to. We can't touch each other or even stand close to each other without fear. And what's happening is we're taking all of that And it's building up this frustration, and we're just taking it out on each other, and we're angry. And the thing is, the government knows that we're doing this and they don't care. But we like to delude ourselves into thinking that because Donald Trump did a press conference or because someone on CNN said this, that they care. No, not necessarily. It doesn't mean that they care. It just means that they're on TV and they're talking. Really, your job is to self-monitor, follow the rules of the CDC, take care of your family, manage your finances, and learn radical acceptance, which is something that I have been speaking about since the government shut down from last year. Radical acceptance is when you accept the current situation as it is, that it exists, that you cannot control it, but what you do have control over is your own attitude and where you choose to place your emphasis. It's the only thing that'll keep you sane. It's the only thing that keeps you focused forward. It's the only thing that keeps everything around you intact. But because no one is doing that, everybody's head is spinning and we're all behaving like almost manic and bordering psychosis. I mean, I read some of the feeds and some of the things people are saying is like, whoa, maybe it's time you need to log off for a little bit.
All right. Well, I'm talking to Faye Bishop, and we're talking about the coronavirus and the virus of fear, and how that second virus has infected far more people than the first one. And so I'd like to get you guys' take on this. Give me a yes or no. We've seen the news, right? The news stories. They seem there's a political spin on a lot of the conversations. If you go watch Fox, you're going to hear something different from what you hear on NBC or CNN, and you get a sense that it's not balanced. But so let me ask you this, you guys, give me a yes or no in the chat. Do you guys think that the media is playing some role in creating unnecessary amounts of fear? Like, do you think that they either are incentivized or perhaps even inadvertently are trying to push people to just be scared half to death, even if there's not as much to be afraid of? And I think it's an interesting thing. Because what this did to me, Faye, give me a yes or no, guys, if you think that the media is creating unnecessary amounts of fear. Okay, Sonia and Chris and Giselle all say yes. I'm seeing a lot of yeses. I see a hell yes in here. Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, yes, yes from Stephanie. Nikita says, okay, she says, hey, Doc, what's up with something? Something about the president. I'm sorry, the comment came through so fast. The president taking over the Fed. I haven't heard anything about that.
I haven't heard that either.
I'll look into that. We'll hit the financial and economic angles on the Black Financial Channel, which we've done earlier. Okay, I see a lot of yeses. I don't see a lot of no's. And that was my concern, Faye, is that fear sells. Somebody mentioned that in the chat. Chris said it sells. Yeah, I agree with you, Chris.
It does.
So how do you balance? Now, Hubert and Rochelle say no. They don't think that the media is going overboard. Given that we know that fear sells, given that we know that even if there was only one coronavirus death per day in the country, the media will probably still put that one person on the headline. Out of 330 million people, they put one person, right? Not the people who live, but the one who died on the headline. Do you think that they're sort of playing a part in kind of creating something that's even worse than the virus itself?
Absolutely. Because again, what it's doing is it's not really adding a lot of perspective to many of the conversations that we're having. Like, we're hearing all of these celebrities coming out saying, hey, I tested positive for coronavirus. I tested positive for coronavirus. And it's like, okay, now what? What does that do? What does that mean? Are you going to volunteer? Are you okay? Are you sick? We're not really getting anything from that. And this is how it's been since the beginning. Even at the top of this thing, the World Health Organization, they put out a little line at the top of this thing back in January, I believe it's January 14th, where they said that there's no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission of the novel coronavirus. And then fast forward, weeks and weeks later, here we go. Mayor de Blasio in New York did the same thing irresponsibly, as did the health commissioner of New York.
Yeah, wasn't the New York health commissioner? I mean, New York has been hit like the plague, and they got a lot to say about what they feel the federal government is and isn't doing. But like a month ago, did anybody else see this? Give me a yes or no if you saw this. If I'm not mistaken, Faye, you told me about this, that they we're actually telling people to get together and in big crowds and everything's gonna be okay. It's totally fine. There's nothing to worry about. Is that right? Can you tell me about that?
Yes, the New York City Department of Health, the commissioner there, her name is Dr. Osiris Barbat. She got on TV during the celebration of the Chinese New Year, the Lunar New Year. And I don't know if she called herself trying to get her virtual signaling on, trying to deem the city as not racist, or whatever it was that was going on. But she encouraged the residents of New York to congregate in huge crowds in defiance of the coronavirus. She said the same thing, repeating the same sentiments that the World Health Organization repeated, which was the fact that there was no evidence of human to human contact, that don't let the media, make a big deal out of this, celebrate the New Year's, enjoy the parade. I'll be there, is what she said. Mayor de Blasio got on top of that. I think it might have been either days earlier or days later. Mind you, all of this took place after Donald Trump's travel ban. So this was after that. So I don't know if they called themselves trying to defy him, trying to defy his message, trying to defy whoever. But all I know is that irresponsible move has it clearly exposed thousands of people to COVID-19. And what I'm not liking is that the media isn't owning any of that, the role that some of these politicians played in that. Everything is, this person caught coronavirus today, this many now have it, this is how many people who died. We're only learning who has it, how many, and who died. That's all. That's like those three center points are constantly being focused on day to day, instead of exactly what led up to this widespread here, because this could have been contained a month ago. It's almost as if we're behind. In addition to that, I found out that another reason why, and this is just a possibility, the health commissioner in New York City and de Blasio and others behave so irresponsibly is because in the United States, we have over 2,800 local health departments, okay? And they all have different kinds of enforcement powers according to their state. So that makes a quarantine hard to enact. So when you see people on the feeds saying, why are the spring breakers out there going to their spring break in Florida? Why are they outside? Why are they outside? Well, what state do they live in? Because clearly the quarantine isn't everywhere. I found out that there's 50 states, and although there has been cases in all 50, only 20, well now 22, are on this shelter-in-place lockdown, okay? And the thing about it is, to be effective, quarantine laws have to have incentives, measures that ensure some sort of job security, such as if you're barred from going to work. There should be some sort of tier enforcement plan so that the state governments don't go overboard or they don't underdo it. And right now there's a mix going on, because right now only 20% of the states have any kind of protective provisions in place in times of quarantine. So that's why when you see people in New York City on lockdown, but the people in Florida are doing something different, that's why we have this going on. And all it does is create chaos. But the media isn't explaining any of that to people. And that's the problem that I have with it.
Yeah, well, you know what? Well, I'll tell you, Faye Bishop, that's who I'm speaking with. And we're talking about this whole pandemic and the virus of fear and what's kind of happening as people are making this into a political issue. Do me a favor. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, please hit the thumbs up button. And I didn't get a chance to welcome you guys to drboycetv.com. This is the home for intelligent Black people. So if you're not Black and intelligent, you may want to get the fuck out. So we're going to have an honest conversation about this, and a thorough conversation, so we can really try to figure out where we stand and what we believe and how we view things. And I agree with you. I mean, I was stunned. I'll tell you, Faye, I was stunned when you sent me those quotes from the New York mayor just a few weeks ago, just 3 or 4 months ago, or sorry, 3 or 4 weeks ago, excuse me. Basically, like, I forgot what the quote was, but basically saying that it wasn't a big deal, get together in crowds, everything's good. And then you sent the other one with the New York health commissioner saying something similar. And I'm like, how old is this? This ain't 20.
Almost
like
2 months.
Yeah, right. So I would, and because that's a complete contrast to what the media is presenting now. You know, it's sort of like, oh, well, it's all somebody else's fault. And no, it sounds like y'all did this. It sounds like, you know, you were trying to defy some other authority, maybe the federal government or whoever, or thinking about the money. right? Trying to get people back to work or whatever it was, something that they're criticizing, Trump for saying, right? And I'm not saying that we should. We can get to that in a second. So I'm really confused now. Here's what I did, right? I like facts. I don't know. Give me a yes or no if you guys like facts as opposed to spin. Give me everybody who likes facts. Say yes in the chat if you like facts instead of spin, because I really think that we need a true information that we can actually trust. I don't trust MSNBC. I don't trust CNN. I don't trust Fox. I just feel like all those media outlets are biased. I feel like, whether it's their consistent defense of anything Trump does or their consistent hatred of anything Trump does, it keeps them away from getting to the heart of the issue. So rather than trusting Don Lemon and his old line ass, how about we look at some facts? There's a great website I found called Information is Beautiful, informationisbeautiful.net. And it's a beautiful website because they actually have done a wonderful job of laying out a lot of data on coronavirus. And now I'm not here to tell you guys that this ain't serious. I'm not here to tell you guys that this ain't real. I'm not here to tell you guys that you don't have anything to worry about at all. I'm just here to lay out some facts so that next time a celebrity celebrates that he has a coronavirus like it's a damn debutante ball, you'll know what it really means. Like, they love talking about it. Like, I'm like, okay, when y'all go get tested for STDs or whatever, do you run out and tell people what those results are? Like, do you like why are you making this announcement like it's some sort of publicity stunt? That's not cool.
Not only that, it rubs in the faces of people who can't get tested. It kind of hurts us. We can't get tested. Well, how are you able to get a test and you have no symptoms? But the Brooklyn mother had to go to the hospital 3 times sick before they would test her. That's what I'm saying. Is this an awareness about testing? Why are you telling us this? Because unless it's to help the general public, because we're all facing the same shit, celebrities and the general public alike. So my thing with the celebrities and the Idris Elbas and the Scarfaces and the other guy that came out and said that it's so many of them now, and the Tom Hanks of the world.
It was the rapper Slim Thug. I saw him.
Yeah, Tom Hanks, Rita Wilson, and so many of them. Is that okay? Now that we know this, what now? What do you suppose the rest of us do? Because I can't get my doctor to test me, just like yours tested you. So what do I do? If you're not going to tell me anything, then you really don't need to be on my feed. You don't need to be on my screen. You don't need to talk to me. Exactly.
So let's look at some facts just on the coronavirus. This is from a website called informationisbeautiful.net. Dr. Alicia, my fiance, showed me this site and I really like it. She's a scholar too, so we tend to like facts and information. We don't fall for political bullshit. And so here's one. Here's some of the stats here on the left. You see the majority of the infections are very mild. 80% of the people, 80.9% of the people who catch coronavirus basically get the flu and stay at home. So a lot of people aren't getting tested or are not testing positive because they're not going to the doctor. They're just, getting sick. And there's, like all of us, when we start sneezing and coughing, most of us don't go to the emergency room until it gets really bad. Now, 13.8% of the cases get severe. That's when you go to the hospital. 4.7% require people to go into intensive care. So when you're looking at the number of deaths and they're looking at the mortality rate, what I'm really thinking is that when they say, this percentage of people who get the coronavirus die, I'm thinking that they're talking about the percentage of people that were tested, obviously. And typically the people don't get tested unless they have severe symptoms and or they've got big money or whatever special access that allows them to get tested. And so here's another chart on the right that basically shows you clearly, without a doubt. And those of you who are on Instagram, I'll just describe it for you. I don't want to move the phone around, but you guys can hear this. Most of the people that are dying from this virus are older people. Does not mean that their lives aren't valuable, but you can really see you don't get to double-digit mortality rates until you talk about people that are over the age of 80. So anybody in here who's under the age of 80, say yes if you're under the age of 80. Because if you're under the age of 80, there's a good chance if you get it, you're probably not going to die. So when you get the coronavirus and you announce it on social media, hey, y'all, I got the coronavirus, then my question, honestly, somebody's going to ask you, but did you die though? Did you die though? Right? And if the answer is no, then you're going to, don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean you take it lightly. It doesn't mean you don't take it seriously. It just means that you're probably not going to die. In fact, if you look at this chart here, let's see here. This is from Italy. It looks like this is data from Italy and China. Is that right? You can see that in if you're 50 to 59 years old, even people over the age of 50, between 50 and 60, only had about a 1.3% chance of dying in China and a 0.6% chance of dying in Italy. And 0.6%, that's almost like 1 in 170 people. So if 170 people had coronavirus, one of them died, and that's the 50-year-olds. If you're under the age of 50, the death rates are pretty negligible. The chances of death are very low. So really, for the most part, and I'll stop here, Faye, and get your take on this. This really does look like a virus that really unfortunately hits the senior citizens really hard, which makes it different from H1N1. H1N1 hit the younger people the hardest because older people had developed an immunity, and they're finding that maybe coronavirus people may be able to develop an immunity from that, because I saw where the new treatments that they have the most promise that they think they might be able to release this summer are actually from taking I guess a sample or blood from people that had the virus and survived it, and somehow they're able to concoct this into some sort of medication that will help you heal from the virus. So what are your thoughts on what I just said?
Wow. The thing about it with the mortality rate, I think that plays a part in why they're not doing as much testing as they should, because it's going to lower it. It's going to drop the numbers. I don't know if that's playing a role in it, but I do believe that's a big part of it. Mm-hmm. Another reason for that, again, is Trump has allowed the states to handle everything, which is another thing that plays a role in how all of this is being spread, the information that's out there, because now we have more of it. It's like everybody has their hand in the pot and they're giving out all of this information. And there isn't really a clear understanding of anything really, even down to, is it the older people dying? Is it the younger people dying? Because on the feeds, well, my cousin got it. Oh, well, my best friend's cousin, uncle, sister, baby cousin, Tisha got it. And they're, 39. And it's just like, well, how about this? How about we all do what we should do, which is quarantine, okay? Exercise the health guidelines as administered by the CDC. And we do our own part of self-monitoring. We turn CNN and NBC to fuck off. How about we do that? Because it's just too much out there, and a lot of people don't know where to go to even find the COVID-19 data. No, I was actually shocked to learn that about a lot of people. Even my own, I don't want to put some of my family on the spot who may see this video, but I actually got into back and forths with a couple of them over the past week, because I feel like they're locked into the CNN matrix. They literally believe that if they catch this, they are going to die. There is no in between. There is no gray area. There is nothing. I said, well, when did you last speak with your doctor? And everybody got quiet. So why are you tuning into CNN and not your own doctor? The doctor can give you the answers you need. If you feel as though Tina Fey Bishop and Dr. Boyce Watkins' information is wrong or isn't enough for you, then why are you tuning into CNN? Go to your doctor and get the information that you need. Ask them for the information that you need, or ask them to help you get a test. Like Scarface got a test, like Slim Thug got a test, like Idris Elba got a test, and everybody else, because somehow or another, they're able to get access to it, but we're not. So how big of a deal is this? It's like the numbers are also skewed as well. I'm learning that in Italy, 12% of the people actually died from the coronavirus. The other 88% was due to complications, because a lot of them suffered with pre-morbidity, meaning they had underlying health conditions, some of them 2 or 3, and they were all over the age of 80. So it's like, with all of this information out there, why are they picking and choosing what we know and what we do, and we're feeding into it and we're buying into it? At what point do we take responsibility and say, hey, you know what? I have a few hours, I have a few minutes, let me call my doctor, get my doctor on the phone, hear what he or she has to say. If they can't get to me right now, let me just do some tracking on, looking at this data for myself, and then I'll fall back from all of this and then let everything go. And I think that if we do that, that would calm the panic. But because we're not doing that and we don't know anything and we're not looking at the numbers, we're looking at everybody else's numbers. The information you just put up there, you found it.
Well, you know what? By the way, everybody, I was speaking with Faye Bishop. We're talking about the panic around the pandemic, the panic-demic. That's what we need to call it. and how much
pandemic.
Right, how much is real versus how much is hype. And if you haven't done it yet, please hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Also, hello to everybody on Instagram. My Instagram is The Real Voice Watkins, so go follow on Instagram. And if you haven't signed up for Black Movie Night on April 2nd, you can go to blackmovienight.net. We're going to show Raising a Black Scholar by a film directed by Tierra K.J. Williams. And we're going to talk about homeschooling our kids, and especially for those of you that are educating your kids at home, or thinking about educating your kids at home, or just want to support Black filmmakers and see a great Black movie, sign up at blackmovienight.net. Somebody type that in, blackmovienight.net, not .com.net. And Faye, what's your Instagram, by the way, Faye? Faye Bishop?
At Faye Bishop, yes. At Faye Bishop on Instagram, at Miss Faye Bishop on Twitter, and I'm at Faye Bishop on Facebook.
All right. So at Faye Bishop. All right, I'm gonna write that down. All right. So you mentioned something that I'm going to, this could be an important key point that we're going to make tonight. And I know some of y'all, some people, get offended when we have these conversations that don't go along with mainstream media. And if we offend you, then I'm sorry that you're offended by the truth, or you're offended by, by a perspective. But you're welcome. You're certainly welcome to go and get scared to death on CNN or whatever if you want to. We believe in facts here, and we're not afraid to have any conversation. So, how about this? I want to ask you guys a question. I want you guys to answer in the chat. Everybody in the chat, you ready? Let me know if you're ready. All intelligent Black people, I want to ask you guys a question. So I want to call together all the intelligent Black people. I don't have my Vicky Diller gavel. Here we go. We're not going to pass a resolution to intelligent Black people, but I'd like to call all intelligent Black people. Ignorant people don't answer. Ignorant people stay home. Please just turn off the computer. Everybody, all intelligent Black people, I'd like to ask you guys a question. I want you to guess the answer to this question. Now, earlier, we found out that according to Information is Beautiful, a scientific website that looks at CDC data and things like that, we found out that most people don't die from the coronavirus. 80.9% of the people that get the virus have very mild symptoms. So 8 out of 10, right? Now, we also found that most people that die, the vast majority are over the ages of 70 and 80. If you're over 80 and you get the virus, you have about a 17% chance of dying, at least in China, or in Italy, 14.8% in China. It drops after that. Okay, so I want you to answer this question. Everybody answer. You ready? What, out of the people that get infected with the virus, what percentage of those people do you believe that die? What percentage of the deaths occur with people who have zero pre-existing conditions? So you're healthy, you have no pre-existing condition. What do you think? And you have the coronavirus. God bless you. I want you to be okay. But what percentage of people with zero pre-existing conditions that are infected with the coronavirus actually die? Give me the, I'm holding this up, but it's not, I'm not holding up a zero. I'm asking the question. What percentage? Okay, Mona says 1, TWS says none. Okay, Chris says, okay, I see Chris and Trent. Okay, 0.5%, 1%, less than 2%, says Sharonda. Actually, I'm gonna give it to Chris. Chris is right. The answer is 0.9%. 0.9%, less than 1% of coronavirus infections. So if you look at the pool of people, so let's say you have 100 people that have coronavirus, and let's say that you then sort out, out of those 100 people, let's say none of them have any pre-existing conditions. So all the people are healthy, no pre-existing conditions, no diabetes, no heart disease, none of that stuff. Out of that 100 people, one of them will die. One will die, 99 will live. And here's a chart to help you see that. This is right here on the right. You see that? They're showing a grid of all. I'm gonna hold my phone up for those of you on Instagram so you guys can see it. Again, this is not me being not me hating. If you feel like the truth is hating on you, then I can't help you. You need Jesus or something. But this is this chart. You see this chart here. The orange represents the people that die that have 3 or more pre-existing conditions. Almost half of all the coronavirus deaths occur with people that have 3 or more pre-existing conditions. And the majority of these people are very, very old. They're older than your great grandma, right? Now, don't get me wrong. We don't want grandma to die though, but that's what it is. But grandma gonna die anyway. That's kind of that's what happens, and it's sad, but it's true. Here in the blue, that little tiny dot of blue represents the percentage of coronavirus deaths that occur with people that have no pre-existing condition. So if you don't have a pre-existing condition, this virus, you probably won't catch it. And if you catch it, it probably will not kill you, right? Does it mean that it's not real? No, it's still very real. Remember, you can die from a lot of things. You can get hit by a car. You can be in a plane crash. You can get shot. You live in Chicago, getting shot isn't too hard to do. You could, go sleep with the wrong person and catch HIV. You could, you can get, a lot of y'all might have, unfortunately, heart disease, diabetes, whatever, right? We got all that in our community, hypertension, stuff like that. And so when they list the pre-existing conditions, they list active cancer, atrial fibrillation, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. These are serious diseases. She's dementia,
Yes,
diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, liver disease, chronic renal failure, or stroke. So if you don't have any of these things, chances of the coronavirus killing you are 1 in 100. So if you get it, so if you don't have, so give me a yes or no if you have any of these conditions. Actually, give me a yes if you are free of all these conditions. Are you free of active cancer? Are you free of atrial fibrillation? Are you free of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease? Are you free of dementia? Are you free of diabetes? Some of us might be diabetic. That's a real thing in our community, right? Are you free of heart disease? That's also very real. Hypertension, I guess, high blood pressure, things like that. Liver disease, renal failure, or stroke. So it sounds to me, Faye, and I'm gonna go back to you on this. I'd like to get your take on this. It sounds to me like, and this is data talking. This is not Boyce talking. This is Boyce reciting data from a website called informationisbeautiful.net. And this money, or excuse me, not this money, these numbers have come from the China Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Some of these numbers, some of this has come from the same departments in Italy and other parts around the world. So, Faye, based on what I said, what are you seeing with this?
What I'm saying is that from the beginning, the media, as well as governmental figures, both underestimated and overestimated the enormity of the threat that coronavirus presented from the beginning. And unfortunately, it's made things spin out of control. And what I'm saying is that the information is out there that we need in terms of who this virus directly affects, how it affects us. Those that should be quarantined, to me, should be the elderly, and what the rest of us should be able to, go about our everyday lives, practicing everyday precautions and doing what we usually would do through the flu season. Unfortunately, we're not doing that. And it's like, I feel as though we've reached a point where we're just too sucked into the matrix with this, and the numbers no longer matter, thanks to the media and thanks to a lot of government figures. So now it's a point of, what do we do to slow the spread of this? That's where we're at now. What happens now in spite of those numbers that you just presented? What do we do to slow the spread? What do we do to stop it? And more than that, how about we start talking to some people who've actually gotten sick from this and recovered?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good point. So that's that. I think we've covered a lot here, and I want to say thank you very much to Miss Faye Bishop for joining me tonight. Thank you, Faye. I appreciate your time for sure.
Yes.
Everybody who's watching, please give Faye a digital round of applause. Tell her thank you for coming in and speaking in a language that is a little different from what you're hearing in media. And also, if you want to follow her on social media, you can look up @Faye Bishop, Faye. Don't forget the E at the end of Faye. @Faye Bishop on Instagram, Miss Faye Bishop on Twitter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right,
yes.
Okay.
Miss Faye Bishop on Twitter.
All right, Miss Faye Bishop, so show your respect. And also she's on Facebook, so follow her. She's very smart. And also everybody who's watching, please hit the thumbs up button, share button, subscribe button. Make sure you subscribe to drboycetv.com if you're willing to consider opinions other than mainstream media. If you're a mainstream person, then we're not too good for mainstream thinking. We just don't really do that around here. And
I have
also,
a question.
Yeah, sure.
What do you think, and I don't know if your audience knows about this, what do you think about the governor of Texas locking down, basically quarantining visitors from New York? I don't know if anyone's heard about that.
Yeah, I feel like that's political. I feel
Okay.
like it's political, but it's also driven. it's definitely political partisan in the sense of like sort of, you know, he's acknowledging the virus, but I think kind of giving a fuck you to New York at the same time, you know, and also I think he's I think that it's probably driven by the fact that, you know, there are probably a lot of people in the South who are scared to death based on what they're seeing in the news about the virus. And so, you know, I just find that um, as flawed as the New Yorkers I know can be, sometimes when you go down south, you get a little bit of interesting thinking that can not always be consistent with what's really going on. So I think that they're probably exaggerating the threat a little bit in Texas, but at the same time, really at the end of the day, I don't think many people should be flying at all. I mean, I think that's so it is personal that he's pointing out New York, right?
He is.
Like it would just make sense to just say anybody from anywhere, like we're shutting down the border, like you're doing. Everybody's shutting down borders, and I find that interesting that they're shutting down borders now because if you remember, you know, when Trump first came into office, the whole conversation was, you know, we're not here to build walls, we want to tear down walls, but shoot, let a virus come in, everybody get scared, they shut down everything, and and I'm not even saying that's a bad idea. I mean, if you ask me my opinion, the way I look at it is, the virus is real. You don't want to get sick. You certainly don't want to give it to your grandma or your grandfather, right? So yeah, go ahead, quarantine, wash your hands, you know, do what they tell you to do. Take a month off or whatever. And I think also for Black people, remember, you know, there's the perspective out there, and then there's the Black perspective. I think for Black people, I think that this is our opportunity to really get to know ourselves and our families more. And some of y'all got kids at home. Maybe you can learn how to homeschool your kids permanently. Some of you are now working from home. Maybe this is the time to shift your career and learn how to work from home. You work from home, right, Faye?
Yes, I do. I can actually teach others how to work from home too. Because what a lot of people tend to think is that their expertise or their careers or their lines of business or lines of work is needed only outside in the office. No, there are so many companies all over the world that are hiring you. They're outsourcing. It's not just the United States that outsources work. There are other countries that outsources work. For instance, I have a client in London that I work with. So you can actually now just go to places like Fiverr, Upwork, that's UPWORK, outsource yourself, you know, put your resume up there, write a proposal. They're looking for you to work for them, to work with them, to partner with them. And they're paying salaries, full on salaries, upwards of 120,000 a year, depending on the client. So take advantage of that, because right now what's going on is that we understand some things about the disease. We know enough about the disease, but there are things we don't know. But one thing we can count on is that the media is not going to be clear at all about what this disease is and what it isn't, in spite of what the numbers are indicating. Everything they say contradicts what you posted today. Everything. And we see that and we're okay with it.
Wow. Well, yeah, it seems to me that no matter what side of this fence you're on, I hope we can at least agree that the media can't be completely trusted and the government isn't going to tell us everything. Right. I think we know that. I think, you know, because if it's really worse than what they say, they don't want to tell us certain things because they don't want people panicking. So I think it's okay. So when I see the survivalists really getting ready for it to really go down, I don't look at them as crazy people. You know, I just say, okay, just, you know, but remember, there's a difference between dealing with the situation and freaking out. I think freaking out is not good for your mental health or your physical health. Also, here's another factoid that people have to kind of consider. You know, when they talk about possibly getting the economy started back up again and not remaining frozen in fear forever, just remember that, you know, even if the coronavirus hits the worst projections that are out there and infects, say, 1 million people, you're talking about, unfortunately, 40,000 deaths, right? Most of whom have pre-existing conditions, most of whom are going to be over the age of 70 or 80. Very bad. That's terrible for the country. Nobody wants to see that.
Is.
But there are studies actually out there, Faye, that say that if the unemployment rate increases by 10%, you're talking about 200,000 to 250,000 deaths from, you know, opioid overdose for people who can't work anymore, suicides.
Yes.
Not to mention the mental health issues. You're talking about crime. You're talking about all kinds of stuff. I mean, you know, like
it's true.
Yeah, I'd be really curious. I'm not curious, but it would be unfortunate to see what America looks like when you have, 50 million people who've gone 6 weeks without a paycheck, without any source of income, and I think that's what we have to kind of balance against, and so there's a point where, like, actually they have this thing called, I'm not going to get too technical with you guys, but you guys know I'm not a stupid guy, so I can't pretend to be stupid. I'm sorry if this is too deep, but there's something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. A lot of you may have heard of it. And Maslow's hierarchy of needs is basically a hierarchy that describes what human beings need. Like, all the way at the top, there's like self-actualization and happiness and all that other shit, and esteem from your friends and for people to like you and all that. But at the bottom, there's like just that basic shit. There's like food and water, and then there's like shelter and security above food and water, and then there's all the other stuff. And what happens is, when you get to the point where you start losing the stuff at the bottom, then you start forgetting about the things at the top. So my point in saying all that is to say that, if your goal is to be safe, right? We all want to be safe. So we're like, okay, there's a virus out here. It infects a small percentage of the population, but if you get it and you're pretty healthy, you have maybe a 2%, 3% chance of dying. That's bad. Let's stay away from that. And in order to stay away, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to lock myself in the house. I'm not going to go outside at all. Well, when you get to the point where you get hungry enough, right? When you get to the point where you don't have any more water in the house, when you get to the point where your kids can't eat, and you ran out of toilet paper a month ago, right? Speaking of toilet paper, right? You get to the point where you start doing the math and you start saying, yeah, I have a 1% chance of dying or a 2% chance of possibly something bad happening, but I got to go out and eat. I got to go out and handle this lower basic need, even if it means jeopardizing my safety a little bit. Right. And so like animals do that. When animals run out of food, they go out and they have to go looking for food, even if the conditions are dangerous. Right. So ultimately, the point of the matter, but the reason I'm making this prolonged point, and I didn't mean to be long winded, is to say that, right now we have the luxury as Americans to be as safe as we want to be. We can shut down, because we're so rich as a country. Our country is very rich compared to the rest of the world. We can shut down the whole economy for a month, maybe two, and a lot of people are still going to be able to be okay. The government can bail us out. Everything's fine. But I think when you get to the point where a lot of people start getting desperate and it gets into the millions, it's going to get to the point where people are going to say, I don't want to catch this corona thing, but we might have to live with this, because I got to eat. My kids got to eat. I got to work, and I think that's what you're going to kind of see. So I'm really curious to see how this evolves. I really hope they kill it all, but sometimes they can't kill it all. Like for example, in black people know this better than anybody. Do you know how many neighborhoods there are in the black communities all around the United States where people get killed every day and they still get up and go to work? They still walk down the street. You go to parts of Chicago. There's parts of Chicago where there's a murder every single week, and people know, yeah, there's a chance that something bad can happen, but I got to get to work because my kids got to eat. So my point is to say, I think we just have to make sure we keep it all in perspective and make sure we're balancing everything in the right way, as opposed to thinking that the only way I can get up and do anything in this world and move forward at all is if I know that not one single person in the whole country has caught this virus. Because there's shit everywhere killing people every single day. It is. So, yeah. So thank you, Faye.
Yes, you are welcome. It was a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to come on your show. So
yeah, the pleasure was all mine, and I had a great time, guys. And everybody, please thank Faye, and thank you for letting me get my long-winded point out. I don't know if I sound like a complete nerd just now, but
it's okay.
I gotta let it out. So,
and once again, I just want to stress to everybody, reposition yourself career-wise. As Dr. Boyce Watkins just stated, now may be a good time to rethink what it is you do for a living and exactly what you want to do next. In the meantime, you guys can work. They outsource online. They do. Upwork, Medium, Fiverr, Fiverr. Look it up.
All right. Real game. She's spitting real game, y'all. So make sure you listen. All right. So follow her at Miss Faye Bishop on Twitter.
Correct.
At Faye Bishop on Instagram, and Faye is spelled Faye. And thank you guys for hanging out. Don't forget, Black Movie Night is April 2nd. Tiara KJ Williams will be our featured director that night. We're going to watch Raising a Black Scholar, and we're also going to have Roosevelt Mitchell III, Nomalanga Bushali Moses, and Amani Walker, a mom who homeschools her kids. She's going to join us and talk about how she does it. So I look forward to seeing you guys. Go to blackmovienight.net. That's blackmovienight.net. So Faye, I hope that you'll join us. Put it on your calendar. I'd love to have you in.
Oh, absolutely. That sounds like a lot of fun. Send me the date for that too.
I will. Yeah. I sure will.
So I can add it.
All right, for sure.
Take care, everybody.
You too. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye.